Welcome one and all, this is Comic Book Central, where comic books come to life. The world's first podcast devoted exclusively to in-depth interviews with the talented folks who bring comics to life in film, television, animation, video games, podcasts, and beyond. I'm your host, Joe Stuber. Welcome to my TerrifiCon recap. 7 episodes all coming your way, giving you a taste of my adventure at this year's TerrifiCon, Connecticut's #1 comics and pop culture convention. As always, I had an incredible time at the show, met up with some old friends, had some old fashions, bought a bunch of old comic books, and got to meet up in person with a few folks who have been here on the show previously. If you caught my TerrifiCon preview episodes with Star Trek's Andrew Robinson and Celia Rose Gooding, well, I got to meet up with them in person. That was very cool. Met up with Tom Welling from Smallville. He was there. Michael Rooker, Marvel Comics' Ralph Macchio, Nanette Visitor from Star Trek, Larry Wilcox and Eric Estrada from Chips. I got to meet up with them and got to meet up with Daredevil's Charlie Cox as well. That was fun. He said he would love to visit Comic Book Central. I originally told him about TerrifiCon when I saw him at a convention before, so I got to meet up with him again now. And he said, yeah, I'd love to be on Comic Book Central. Going to see if I can get that to happen. You got to go jump through a few hoops with Disney, but we'll see if we can make that happen. And I got to say, there was even a very, very brief meeting with the one and only Keanu Reeves. That's right. Keanu Reeves was there at the Mohegan Sun where the convention takes place. They have a concert area. 5 for Fighting played a free concert there at the Mohegan Sun. Look, each year I try to bring you all a flavor of the show right here on Comic Book Central, but there is nothing quite like being there in person. I got to tell you that. So I'm going to give you the 2025 dates right now so you can start making your plans. You definitely want to do that. Get your days off, start making arrangements. You want to be at TerrifiCon and I want to see you there. The dates for 2025, August 8th through the 10th, 2025. That is when next year's event is going to take place. Tickets go on sale November 15th. That's less than 2 months from now at TerrifiCon.com. So mark that date on your calendar. That's when you can start getting your tickets. I already have a preview of next year's guest list. And look, just start making your plans right now. That's all I got to say. You will thank me later. Okay, when I'm at TerrifiCon, I'm typically moderating a bunch of Q&As. This year was no exception. I'll be bringing you audio from those Q&As on the episodes to come. But Friday, so the convention is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday, which is usually a slower day, I like to walk around, get as many quick interviews as I can with folks at the tables. This year, though, I actually moderated a bunch of Q&As on Friday, so I didn't get around to as many convention tables and have some floor chats as I usually do. I got some pictures. You can check those out in the photo album on my Facebook page at facebook.com/Comic Book Central Network. But I did get to make some new friends this year, and if you are a Star Trek fan, man, you're going to love these chats. So I'm going to bring those to you right now on this episode, the ones that I was able to get on the floor at TerrifiCon, and then the Q&As on the episodes that are going to be coming up. So first of all, today, I had the honor of stopping by the table of the lovely and talented Stephanie Czajkowski. Stephanie played Hammerhead on the Max DC series Doom Patrol, and she played Lieutenant Tavine on Star Trek Picard. She had just recently attended a Star Trek convention, a huge Star Trek convention in Las Vegas, so we were able to chat a little bit about that. Here is my conversation with Stephanie Czajkowski. It is Friday. It is TerrifiCon. This is your first TerrifiCon.
It is my first TerrifiCon.
Welcome to your first TerrifiCon.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so you're in the world of Star Trek. You're doing all these different things now. Did you get to go to Vegas?
I did. I went to my very first Vegas at the beginning of the month.
Okay. That had to be... I saw the guest list for that, and my head started to explode when I saw the guest list on it.
Yeah.
What's it like to be immersed in this world? And did you reach out to any Trek cast members to prepare you for the fandom? Or did you kind of already get a sense of what was happening?
Well, I think I was smart in that I started doing smaller cons first, and it wasn't until this year that I did an exclusively smaller Trek con. It's a little bit different because it's so intense in its own right. It's overwhelming and exhausting at the same time. Like, it's overwhelming, exhilarating. Like, people are like, how is it? I'm like, it's overwhelming, exhilarating, and exhausting. just because you're seeing everybody, and then you're doing panels, and then there's after parties, and then it's Vegas. Then you just go home and you're like, please give me like 3 weeks to sleep.
Yeah, and well, you didn't get that much because you're here at TerrifiCon, so you got a little bit of time.
I got a little bit of time.
A little bit of time. What's been your favorite fan experience, or maybe most memorable fan experience so far? Because you're really not only just reaching out to the newer Trek fans, but really this legion of a half a century. And I hope I'm not putting too much on you, but
no. I mean, I think the thing that you realize when you join the franchise, when you're lucky enough to be a part of it, even in a very small role, because I mean, my role was part of a massive thing that happened. Like, I feel so honored. But, I mean, it's not like it's the next generation. It's Picard. It's not like it's about Tavine, the science officer. But you come to realize what an honor and also what a responsibility it is. Because when you join any franchise, you realize how beloved it is by people. And then when you go to events like this, you recognize it even more. And as actors, and as actors, so often we do our thing in a bubble, and then it goes, and maybe there's ratings, and you think that if you get invited back, then you did a good job.
Right.
But sometimes it's a one-off, and if you do theater, you have that immediate response, and that's kind of the thing that's here. I think the thing, especially about the Trek fandom, is through these conventions, through smaller ones, is you start to build real life relationships, and there's a lot of charity work everybody's doing, and I keep getting invited to aerospace, they're crossing over into aerospace conventions as well.
Okay.
So I get to be in rooms with people who are so much smarter than I am.
Right.
So it's a great learning experience for me too.
Yeah. Do you have a little script or a little talking point sometimes just to keep up with?
No, I mean I'm in my own right a science nerd. I'm a little bit more a medical science nerd just because of life experience.
Yeah.
But I have a very genuine curiosity about what people do, and if you've ever been with anyone in aerospace, they in particular love to explain it to you, and then I like to be the person who's like, okay, dumb that down.
Talk to me like I'm five.
So talk to me like I'm five. And when they express and tell me what we're capable of doing and what we're capable of doing now that we don't even know about, it's just phenomenal. And a lot of that inspiration came from Gene Roddenberry's work. Yeah. So you're just it's this weird thread that threads all the way through.
Can you compare your Trek time with Doom Patrol? Is there any, or is it night and day? Is it?
Different. It was very different. The difference get to work with icons. My first day on Doom Patrol, my first scene was with Brendan Fraser.
Wow.
And I was like, who is amazing, in the same way that working with Jonathan Frakes and Patrick Stewart, Sir Patrick, everyone was just really really welcoming. But I think the thing that was a little bit different about Doom Patrol is it was our first season, so you're coming into something that's being created and you're helping to create what it is.
Right.
And in Star Trek, it's so established, not to mention the fact that we're basically kind of doing a reset and a reunion of Next Generation.
Right.
So you're stepping into that world.
Yeah. It's like you're opening for the Stones.
Yeah, exactly. And you're stepping, and luckily your teammates, your castmates, in other instances, in neither of these situations, I was really spoiled because I just felt like part of the team. And even if even in Doom Patrol, I recur, but I always refer to it as my show. I'm like, it's my show. You take ownership for something that you cherish so deeply. And on other shows, you don't do that. But that was definitely the commonality between the two.
And you're here representing the show, too, to the fans.
I mean, my biggest thing with Doom Patrol is I'm like, I just wish we had, Paramount has done a really good job, especially with the reboot of it. I just wish we had people behind Doom Patrol to give it the same amount of eyeballs. Yeah. Because I really think the people who love it, and when people find it, it's like this diamond, and you're so excited for them. And I just think it's one of the best DC properties that has been created for television, and so many more people deserve the opportunity to see it.
There's so many shows like that. Even Deep Space Nine didn't find its true audience. Even now, it's bigger than I think before. So hopefully it won't be that long.
I don't think so, too. Yeah. Next thing I know is next week Netflix will be like, hey, we're on, and I'll be like, yes!
#1 trending,
Exactly.
What's next for you? What's coming up?
Right now, I have a couple of auditions. I have stuff that I can't talk about.
Which of those are the things we like.
I know, right?
Very, very cool.
And I've been dipping because of the strike. last year, I started dipping my toe a little bit into the water on behind the scenes.
Oh, nice.
Doing some producing, doing some writing.
Nice. Okay.
I produced. We just launched it. I'm not the host of it, but there is a movie called Caligula with Malcolm McDowell that came out, and Dame Helen Mirren and John Gielgud and Peter O'Toole that came out that came out in like the 70s, and
right.
Bob Guccione produced it.
Right.
There is a man found a bunch of footage and has recut the movie. It's being released.
Okay.
Wide release at Alamo Drafthouse, I think, next week.
Okay.
And I and my husband, we did a podcast about the behind the scenes, the making and the remaking, called Caligula Package of Excellence.
Okay.
It is now on all podcast channels.
There you go.
It's 6-episode, like, deep dive into the craziness that was making that movie.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Insane.
I would imagine.
It's insane.
So.
Yeah.
And as a producer, you're getting a little some of the back end of a project.
I mean,
too,
this one is definitely a bootstraps passion project.
Start somewhere.
Once you start going down the hole, you're like, how did this happen?
Right.
And also where we're looking now, 30 or 40 years later, you're just like, this could, especially from like Me Too eyes, you look back and you're just like,
how did this?
What was happening?
How did this happen? Yeah, it was the 70s.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on.
And the stuff they could do is, in Italy, like just,
So it was amazing. So
yeah.
Have an amazing weekend.
Thank you
Have
so
a terrific weekend at
Thank you so
TerrifiCon.
much.
Enjoy your experience all weekend.
I will. I definitely will.
Next up at the TerrifiCon Tables of Trek is an immensely talented performer. He was there from the beginning on the classic Star Trek series Deep Space Nine. Here is my conversation with the man who brought the Ferengi Quark to life, Armin Shimerman.
The craziness of Saturday has dissipated at TerrifiCon. So how's your weekend been so far?
Lovely so far. People have been very nice. I've never been to this part of the country or to this convention before, and I've had nothing but a good time.
Okay, so you've done, I can't even imagine how many Star Trek conventions you would have done. Have you been able to estimate it at this point?
No, it's countless. As there are stars in the sky, that's how many conventions I have done.
What's the reaction that you've been getting from fans? And I know Deep Space Nine is certainly a series so far ahead of its time in how the stories were being told. I talked about this with Andrew Robinson as well, of just how, and now people are binging it on streaming services. Are you reaching a whole new generation, are you finding?
I think so. Yes, we were ahead of our time. We had long story arcs, and if you missed an episode and you came back to us, you were a little lost. But now almost all the dramatic TV shows on TV do that. So that's de rigueur. I think we are indeed reaching new generations, and not just young generations, but older generations, because people who didn't watch it before, because it was too difficult really to watch, now they're watching it because either their kids are telling them or friends are telling them, this is a show worth watching and you should take a look at it.
I think there was a dynamic too with Next Generation where that it had to be this action adventure sort of series, and Deep Space Nine had such a different tone to it. It was almost about relationships,
It is about
dysfunctional relationships, which they hadn't really seen too much in the Star Trek universe before. Did you get a sense when you were filming it that you guys were just completely coming at it with a different tone?
Yes, I was completely aware of that. All of our characters were flawed. Some more than others, certainly mine was. But they were all flawed, which you had never seen on Next Generation. You certainly hadn't seen on the original show. And because of that, I think we had much more interesting stories. We weren't about going to planet and in 43 minutes solving a planet's problems. We were gradually figuring out how to solve our own problems, how individuals who didn't necessarily like each other needed to live together and to work together. And how do you do that? And I think everybody who is in the workplace has to deal with that same problem no matter what they do.
Do you have, I won't ask you favorite episode, unless you do have a favorite episode. Oh, you do?
We all have.
Okay. Or maybe even favorite moments or favorite experiences, too, that you've had filming. What do you take fondly from those days?
Well, that's a multiple question, and I will give you multiple answers. So I
tend to do that from time to time.
My personal, and I believe most of the cast personal favorite, is an episode called Far Beyond the Stars, where we go back in time, and we have very little really to do with space or Deep Space Nine or Star Trek. We deal with racism in America in the 1950s. And that, to me, is perfect Star Trek, perfect storytelling. As far as lovely moments, there are way too many to name. I worked with an extraordinary amount of brilliant actors. The recurring characters that I worked with that were especially attached to my storyline were incredible, but also the guest stars that we would have from time to time. And in every one of those episodes, there were moments, times where I thought, this is as good as it can get. It doesn't get any better than this. But they're too numerable to quote to you.
Who was the guest star that made you go, oh, wait, I get to work with who today?
Wow, there were a couple of those. I would say Mary Crosby, who I really adored working with. Jeff Combs, who was a regular recurring character on the show, as was Max Grodenchik. They were all terrific. I don't think I was ever starstruck by anybody. Okay. I don't think we ever had anybody went, oh my God, so-and-so is coming.
Lisa Ball just walked in the door.
Yeah. I was starstruck by someone who worked on Next Generation, but wasn't on our show, but came to visit our set just to meet me, and that was Professor Stephen Hawking.
Oh, wow.
And I was indeed starstruck by him, and Berman told me that he purposely wanted to come to set to meet Quark, so I was very happy about that.
Oh, wow. That had to make you feel happy.
It did.
Everybody's coming back now. Picard, we saw the Next Gen coming in. Everybody's talking about Deep Space Nine folks coming back.
Not possible.
Not possible?
It's possible, of course, but
nothing's impossible in science fiction.
Yeah, understandable. But some of our major people have disappeared, have died, passed away.
Yeah.
So we no longer have Renee. We no longer have Cecily Adams. We no longer have Aaron Eisenberg, Barry. There's just a lot of people that are no longer capable of doing another show.
If they found a way, story-wise, to bring some of you back in some sort of adventure, or maybe even a combo platter of different Trek universes, would you be up for that?
Absolutely. And Lower Decks was kind enough to invite Nana and I back for a particular episode. They did the same thing for Max and Chase. And yes, absolutely, I would come back. I'm not sure. I've discussed this with myself several times. If they were to bring back a show called Quark, for instance, where I was a series regular, I think I would probably say no to that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. The reason is I'm of a certain age, and I don't think I could wear that makeup on a regular basis for year in and year out. However, if they were to bring me back as a recurring character on a show, I would be more than happy to do that. It was a disappointment that I didn't get an opportunity to work on Picard, despite the fact that Patrick Stewart once or twice told me that he wanted me to be on that.
Oh, wow.
So that didn't happen.
Okay. Well, they say they might do a movie, so maybe there's a part
It's
there.
possible.
Okay.
I was in a movie once for a TNG movie, and they cut me out. And understandable. Because I kept saying to the director, Jonathan Frakes, I kept saying, how is Quark possible to be here? It's not possible for him to be here. And then they finally came to the same reaction.
You talked yourself out of a part.
I got paid, so it didn't.
That's right. Check cleared. That's all that matters. What's next for you?
The next thing I'm doing, I'm primarily a stage actor and a stage director. So
you and Andrew, I mean, you guys are treading the boards.
Yeah, Andy and I actually have worked together on a play where, thanks to him, I got a nomination for a performance. In fact, Andy and I are going to do the Sunshine Boys, going to do a reading of that in the fall. But my next theatrical project is in the beginning of next year, where I'm going to direct 12th Night in Los Angeles.
Oh, fantastic! Well, when you had me at Sunshine Boys, because when you said that, I'm like, okay, we got to see this. So, thank you so much for your time today, and enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
All right, I'm hoping to be able to get some time for in-depth chats with both Stephanie and with Armin somewhere down the line. They were both definitely up for that, so stay tuned. Hope to get to know them just a little bit better, a little bit more in-depth on the show on future episodes, so stay tuned. All right, kids, shorter episode today, but definitely action-packed. My thanks to Stephanie and Armin for taking some time with me at TerrifiCon to chat. Next up, a ton of Q&As that I moderated. I hope you have subscribed to the show on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon, even my YouTube channel, because I'm going to be bringing you those episodes in very short order. Over the next 6 episodes, you are going to hear from Avengers Kobe Smulders, Cobra Kai's Martin and Jesse Cove, Spaceballs, Daphne Zuniga, The Goonies, Joe Pantoliano, Joey Pans is going to be here again, Scooby-Doo's Kate Micucci, and from The Outsiders, E.T., Red Dawn, Spider-Man, and so many more movies, C. Thomas Howell. That's right. All headed your way. It's my TerrifiCon recap. You don't want to miss a moment of the fun. Until next time, keep safe, keep reading those comics, and thanks for joining me here in the Lair. Comic Book Central, where comic books come to life. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Comic Book Central. All the content and names, registered trademarks, and copyrights are the respective holders.